Something big is about to drop, as it was reported earlier that two players were scratched from the lineup for the Scranton Rail Riders unexpectedly, and it is causing major smoke on social media towards a trade possibility. We'll break down the implications of this news and how everyone might not need to wait long for the first shoe to drop in the MLB Trade Deadline. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Yankees Digest, giving you guys all the content you need revolving the Bronx Bombers. And if you guys want to stay up to date on all things Yankees content, if you're not a part of that 25% who are subscribed, come on, guys. It is deadline season. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below for all things New York Yankees, as me and Chris are giving you guys all the content heading into this very exciting trade deadline season. But let's get right into this video, as Everson, Pereira, and Brian De La Cruz were removed from the lineup at AAA Scranton. And this is definitely intriguing because two of these guys, Pereira and Brian De La Cruz, Pereira being the 12th best prospect in the Yankees farm system, Brian De La Cruz, he was picked off of waivers from the Atlanta Braves. So two guys who are trying to make an impact in the minors and AAA to then be optioned to the majors to try to make an impact there. So two guys that are still trying to make their strides and trying to work every day at their craft were scratched from the lineup at AAA. So this is definitely interesting. I do not believe that this is just a coincidence. I feel like there is something that is brewing right now, especially with hearing the news that Jazz Chisholm was moved to second base. DJ LeMahieu was benched. So definitely very interesting when talking about Pereira and Brian De La Cruz now being scratched from the lineup. Trade deadline season is heating up so far. Rumor season's heating up, and it's definitely interesting so far. And a little bit more on Pereira and Brian De La Cruz. It's now been over an hour since Pereira and De La Cruz were scratched from the lineup at AAA, and we still have not heard the reason. So, insiders who are very, very interested in everything when it comes down to AAA, they don't even know the reason right now. Don't even know a reason why Pereira and Brian De La Cruz were taken out of this game. And with the corresponding moves, as I mentioned, in the majors, that can definitely have people flocking to Twitter, flocking to social media to see what they can get on Pereira and Brian De La Cruz. So right now, nothing, but this is definitely a sign of something to come, because this is definitely something with two guys, especially the 12th best prospect and a guy they just claimed off of waivers who has had major league experience, could be in a trade package to go and pick up someone, whether it's a third baseman or a pitcher for the New York Yankees, as there's a lot of different things that they can go with. And a little bit more on Pereira so far this season. He has 15 home runs, 45 RBIs on the season, 56 hits, and a 262 average. So he's definitely doing what he needs to do in the minor leagues. But the only problem is that when he's had that shot in the majors, hasn't made his mark that he needs to do. I mean, he's 24 years old. He is in the outfield. So the Yankees are not really looking to pick up guys in the outfield, because they have Grisham, they have Bellinger, they have Dominguez, they have Judge. They have a logjam when it comes to the outfield. So Pereira, it wouldn't shock me if he is going to be in a trade package to get a position of need, whether it be a starting pitcher because Clark Schmidt went out, or a third baseman from, say, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Suarez, IKF, one of those guys, to try to get a third baseman to fill in that hole instead of Oswald Peraza. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is going to be a trade package? I want to see what you guys think regarding this. But just a little bit more on Pereira. Brenton Kemp at Fantasy Pros reported this is initially unclear as to why the 24-year-old was removed from the lineup on Tuesday, but fellow outfielder Brian De La Cruz was also a late scratch. Pereira is hitting .262 with 15 homers, 6 steals, and an .864 OPS across 56 AAA games this season. So yeah, if it was reported that Pereira and Brian De La Cruz were just not in the lineup, no one would really bat an eye. But the fact that they were in the lineup and then they were scratched just unexpectedly, that does raise some suspicion, especially when it's in July and trade deadline season is in full swing. So this is definitely very intriguing and something that I could see going down in the next couple days with Pereira and or Brian De La Cruz in a trade package. And another guy to talk about is Brian De La Cruz. So far this season, in 191 batting average, 9 hits, no home runs. He was picked off of waivers from Atlanta, just been on the taxi squad for the Yankees so far this season, so hasn't really made his impact that he wants so far this season, but people can look at his career stats, 251 batting average, 208 RBIs and 177 hit or runs. So if they want to get someone who has major league experience, whether they are intrigued with another outfielder, it could definitely intrigue a lot of people when talking about Brian De La Cruz. And with Pereira being the 12th best prospect and a 24-year-old in a position that the Yankees don't really need, it can intrigue a lot of different teams. But, right now, when talking about the third baseman position, because Jazz Chisholm was reported that he is going to move to second base and Peraza will be at third base with LeMahieu on the bench. And a little bit more about DJ LeMahieu is that Aaron Boone talked about DJ LeMahieu's benching. He said, I think physically it's a challenge right now being at third base. So right now, no plans on doing that. Some kind of role off the bench. And yeah, it is definitely very interesting when talking about DJ LeMahieu and not playing that third baseman spot, not even just going to be at that third base spot, just someone who's going to be off the bench and Jazz being the starter. So a lot of suspicion coming from the majors, a lot of suspicion coming from the minors. What do you guys think? Comment down below. And something that I saw that was very intriguing was the fact of Suarez being a name that the Yankees are rumored to, but this was good to bring up. Will the Diamondbacks even sell at the deadline? They're currently 45 and 46, 4.5 games out of the wild card. They're 4 games back of the Giants and Padres in the loss column. Suarez is a name a lot of teams would like to land, but Diamondbacks could try and stick around and chase a wild card spot. So yeah, it takes 2 to tango right now. Suarez is definitely someone that a lot of teams are eyeing, but if the Diamondbacks think that they can get a playoff spot, they're not going to go and trade him. They're going to want to keep him for a shot to get into the playoffs. If people don't remember, the Diamondbacks are 2 years removed from a World Series appearance. So they definitely feel like they have the pieces to make a run. They're not having their best season so far in 2025, but they definitely feel that they can make some moves if they keep winning and they keep, doing what they need to do in the West. It does take 2 to tango, so it'll definitely be interesting in the next couple of weeks how the Diamondbacks do and how they feel about Suarez. Something to just report right now that I just saw from the lineups, just looking at the lineups. Brian Hayes, IKF, Suarez, and McMahon were not scratched from the lineup. So if you're expecting that something is going to happen like right away during the games, I'm sorry to report that's probably not going to happen, but stranger things could happen. But Hayes, IKF, Suarez, and McMahon are all playing at this moment of recording. And another thing that could be interesting is adding a starting pitcher. Clark Schmidt went on the IL with Tommy John surgery. Cam Schlittler is going to be starting for the Yankees tomorrow. So definitely very interesting when talking about what position that the Yankees could be looking for. Can it be a guy like Key Brian Hayes or Ryan McMahon, or is it someone more prominent like Suarez? So definitely interesting at the timing of Jazz moving to second base and having a hole at third, and then with Pereira and Brian De La Cruz being scratched in the lineup. But what do you guys think regarding these moves? Do you think it's a coincidence, or do you think that there's something brewing? And maybe the first move in this trade deadline season could go to the New York Yankees, but that's going to be another edition of Yankees Digest. I appreciate you guys with all the support as we get more content out for you. And everyone, let's go Yankees.